Welcome to The Secret Witch Show, the podcast providing a safe and alchemical altar space of conversations which help powerful women escape a half-hearted, spiritless society and rediscover the freedom of living a wildly magical life. Every other week, we explore how to cast aside the wounds of shame, guilt, and fear connected with fully being yourself, so you can grant yourself permission to stop hiding, ground soulfully back into your body, illuminate your whole soul desires, tend your soul, rediscover and reclaim your powerful gifts, express your magic, and manifest your wildest alchemy. There's no better place to become who your heart longs to be. This is where we will guide you into liberation. I'm your host, Nicole Barton, and I'm so excited to dive in. Welcome, magical ones. Happy holidays. I am so excited feeling all the magic of Christmas and also of the looming new year. I have had such the year of all the material for liberation this year, aka all the healing challenges, all the healing responses. And I cannot wait to start afresh with a beautiful soul vision for 2026. It feels like we're about to step across the threshold of a new portal, perhaps one, if you love this episode, of claiming your gifts. And for me, of claiming the gifts that I have reclaimed through all the challenge of this year. Before we dive into the episode, I have two fun and exciting things coming up for the new year to tell you about for January. Firstly, there is a free taster ceremony of Meet Your Witch, a Meet Your Witch ceremony, coming up on the 15th of January 2026. For those who are taking their tender first steps into this path, it's a taster of our apothecary, if that's something that you're kind of feeling called to. It's kind of one of the first steps. So you're very welcome to join me free for that. If you want to, you can visit meetyourwitch.eventbrite.com to claim your free tickets. And if you are longing to make 2026 the year that you embrace your inner witch and her magical gifts, I recommend that for January, you join our Apothecary membership, because on the 22nd of January, we are opening the portal for a magical 2026 with our workshop on the witch's vision, Manifest Magic in 2026. You can join us for that within the membership. So have a look at nicolebarton.co.uk/membership. All the links will be in the show notes. But for now, let's dive in. On The Secret Witch Show today, I explore the tender edge between hiding and shining, speaking to the secret witch who senses that she has a brilliance, yet still doubts her gifts and her magic. With December's darkness as a mirror, I invite us to notice where we have been dimming the diamond within, the inner clear quartz gemstone. And remember that brilliance isn't about performance or perfection, but honesty, transparency, and the courage to be seen exactly as we are. I share about my own personal journey with a crystalline moment that I chose to step off a well-worn path and birth my own unique archetypal apothecary path, weaving clear quartz remedy through the very real fears of over-preparing, waiting for permission, of feeling too much and not enough simultaneously. This episode is a heart-to-heart on reclaiming both our spiritual and logical brilliance, with gentle enquiries to meet your own soft edge of hiding and beginning to discover, embody, and express your unique medicine as a healer. Let's dive in. Welcome, my loves. I am recording this episode with a messy bun, a cup of tea, and a little bit of lip balm that's very glistening, and actually glistening eyeshadow, because we're here to talk about brilliance. And it's also very end of year vibes. I'm wearing my lovely fluffy little jumpery cardigan-y thing, and I have a Christmas tree up, which you can't see. It's filled with sparkles that make me feel magical. So it's almost perfect for this magical time, and also the topic of how to own your brilliance when you feel like hiding. Because I'm feeling very inward at the moment, which is having me feeling like in that wintry kind of hiding phase of the year. And so December is a month where we are kind of fully in the darkness and reveals where we want to like tuck ourselves away, but can also be dimming that kind of diamond within that has brilliance, that has clarity, that has magic, and that shines. So today is really a heart to heart with a cup of tea on owning our brilliance, chamomile tea, I might add, which brilliance could also be described as our gifts, our logical brilliance, our spiritual intellect, or just our particular uniqueness. And so if you're kind of wondering, like, what is our brilliance? That's kind of like the opening, like what we're working with here. But the secret witch basically often has a brilliance. Often her brilliance has perhaps been noticed intellectually, logically, or she may feel like she hasn't had it noticed intellectually. She hasn't felt very bright. So this kind of both ends of the pole. But we're talking about how the secret witch essentially kind of hides her brilliance, both logically, her logical brilliance, and her spiritual brilliance. Her spiritual brilliance, by which we mean the capacity she has to be with spirit, the capacity she has to commune with other worlds, to commune with the dead, to commune with, you know, all sorts of kind of magical, spiritual things. And she's the witch often who has come here to be a healer of some kind. So that's who the secret witch path is for. Either whether she's here for being a healer for herself or to become a healer for others, because often part of the secret witch's genius is that she has come here to live and to express her magic in the world. But she will often hide that. She'll often hide her gifts, her brilliance, her genius, her spiritual, spiritual unique gifts. Hence the secret piece. And I can so relate. This has been my journey on both counts. You know, as a child, I remember that I was very intelligent. I'd get all A stars and A's. And if I got a B, I felt like I was a failure. Like my brain was exceptionally quick and also like a sponge. But I hid that because I doubted myself. I was thinking that I wasn't intelligent enough. And this is a classic example of how the witch operates. And we're going to be speaking about, because I always serve a remedy in each episode. And for the last few episodes, I think, actually, which is unusual, I've been speaking to Clear Quartz. And Clear Quartz is a rarity that we've been journeying with behind the scenes in more depth inside the Secret Use Apothecary membership. Because she is a remedy that helps us to claim our brilliance. If you think of a Clear Quartz crystal, she is like, you know, she has this beautiful clarity, this kind of crystalline structure of clarity, of shining, of being honest and transparent. And this is the thing that she represents, really, is this brilliance that we have that we will often hide and cloud over, rather than allowing it to shine transparently and openly and honestly. So this is how the witch operates. She's literally a genius in many ways, but still somehow feels that she's not brilliant enough. And this is a pattern that often runs right through our childhood. So that was an example of the logical way. So either you'll find that the Clear Quartz, which is the witch who needs to work with Clear Quartz for healing, will either have done that and been exceptionally brilliant but hidden it and doubted herself, or she will have like kind of felt really like she was too brilliant and had to hide that, like she was too much if she expressed that, or might have had experiences where her brilliance was perhaps either shamed or doubted. Maybe she didn't feel intelligent enough. So, but there's also a different kind of brilliance that can show up for the secret witch, that I've also experienced as a child, journeying with. I remember having a high degree of spiritual brilliance. So as I mentioned, like I'd be the one who was communing with the dead, who was kind of picking up on messages and signs and very intuitive. And I was attuning to everyone's emotions. I was very sensitive. I was very open and attuned to other people, but also other worlds. But I hid that because it was classed as weird and unacceptable in a world that values logic. And this resulted in me denying my witchy gifts for a lifetime until I came out as a witch over 6 years ago now. And I'll be honest that both of these things, both of these types of brilliance are things that I've had to reclaim, to work with Clear Quartz, to unhide my witchy gifts, to be able to express them in the world in the way that I do through this podcast, through my programs, through the 3 journeys, through like all the things that I do, through press, through, you know, all the ways that I express my medicine and my gifts in the world. And ironically, both my spiritual brilliance and my logical brilliance, because there's like a spiritual connection, but also a brilliant logical pattern spotting gift that I have. Both of those gifts stand me in good stead as a healer witch. We can be tempted to kind of like diminish one and be like, oh, well, we need to get rid of logic because we're more spiritual. And part of the journey of claiming our brilliance is learning how to alchemize the two. And so because I can, say, commune with the archetypal spirits and remedies of this path, so they're very much energetic spirit guides, you know, they're plants, they're animals, they have a spirit that we can kind of connect into and receive guidance from. And I work very much that way in the spiritual realm. But I can also brilliantly spot patterns and remedy patterns particularly. So people's shadows, people's wounds, my own shadow and wounds, first and foremost. I can spot those very clearly because I've alchemized the union of both. And brilliance in both forms has been essential for me to reclaim as a healer witch. A version of this kind of reclamation of our brilliance, whether spiritual or logical, is likely always needed to be reclaimed for witches to come out of the closet and claim their gifts and stop hiding. And as I mentioned, there's a shadow that often stops us doing that. We either feel not enough, not clever enough, not spiritual enough, not embodied enough in our gifts, or we feel too much, like our gifts or our intellect is too much for others. They're going to have us shamed or outcast. And the thing that I want to share, I guess, first and foremost, is that if you are feeling that way and you're recognizing that, oh, actually, those kind of patterns do resonate. Like, firstly, this isn't your fault. Like, this isn't something that is our fault. This is something that is due to conditioning. It's due to conditioning of our culture, whether through school, through our peers, through our family. Like, there's very much this culture of rewarding logic, and logic having to look a specific way as well, because I'm also autistic and my logical way of processing is very different to the mainstream. And I think autism and neurodivergence can be part of the witch for some people as well. But we're conditioned to reward logic and dismiss and diminish magic. Like, magic's okay in Disney, but once we grow up, then that's gone out the window. That's what we're taught in our culture. And so it makes sense that as witches, we learn to do that, to reward logic, to dismiss magic. And we have been taught to kind of like armor up and defend with competence, with credentials, with certificates, with logic, or with silence. And we've been taught to hide who we really are, to mask over our brilliance, to play small. In essence, we've been taught to keep our shine dull. We've been taught to stay in the wintry darkness of December instead of emerging from the earth that has polished our shine and boldly claim that brilliance. So what we witches need to remember is that hiding maybe once did work as a way of keeping ourselves safe. Like, we've learned that that's a way to keep ourselves safe. But it has also kept us small. And we want to bring love and compassion to the parts of ourselves that have learned to do that, because it's innocent. It is innocent. I'm just looking that way because my fire is hugely on at the moment. I was like, is it okay? It is good, but I just wanted to check if you could hear the crackle. But yeah, so we've been kept small by this wounding of clear quartz in essence. We've been moved into what I call a clear quartz state, where we doubt our brilliance, we shame our brilliance, we hide our brilliance. And what does hiding our brilliance really mean? Like, it's essentially not about performance and pretending to be shinier than we are, because that can be taught in many quick fix kind of self-help paths. Is like, oh, let's just like be shiny and kind of almost like put it on and perform being brilliant and perform being shiny. What the invitation of Clear Quartz is, and the invitation to own our true brilliance as a healer, is about really a process of becoming truthful with who we really are. Like, Clear Quartz kind of works as a metaphor with that. We're currently working in the apothecary with her, and she's also available self-paced too. And she brings alive brilliance because she's a gemstone. She's been pressurized in the darkness under the ground, but as she emerges, she is brilliantly shiny, she's clear, but she's also completely transparent. She's an honest version of herself. So we're not aiming to be all shiny. And again, this can be another way that kind of shadow pole expresses on the kind of inflated end of like, we're going to pretend to be brilliant and shiny. Like, woo, I'm the witch. Like, yeah, like being all kind of almost like over the top in some ways to kind of, I know this has been a pattern for me where I've spotted like almost the temptation to perform shining. And actually, I remember this coming up for someone, this temptation to almost like be on stage and shine, like can be part of the shadow of Clear Quartz. But often in that, we're still hiding. And the invitation is to be transparent, to become who we really are, to become honest, an honest version of ourselves. And that's really what reclaiming our brilliance is about. It's about dropping the performance, dropping the perfect image we've presented of ourselves, this logical, perfect kind of version of ourselves, and allowing our true natural brilliance to shine. And that's including with our imperfections. You know, Clear Quartz has imperfections within it, and they're beautiful. There's like a clarity and a transparency and an honoring of those imperfections. And we can be tempted to think that allowing our brilliance is about kind of self-promotion as well. Like we have to step into the limelight and be like, ta-da, here I am. But it's actually less about that and more about giving ourselves permission to be who we are as we are with those imperfections, but truly honest. It's also not about having certainty, is the other piece that I'd like to add to this. Like we can wait as secret witches forever to feel ready to reclaim our brilliance. And often we will, as secret witches especially, wait to feel ready. But when we do that, we literally like never will feel ready to claim our gifts. And one of the things I often teach is we often think like, oh, one day I'll feel in this energetic, one day I'll feel ready, one day I'll feel brilliant. We kind of wait for the energetic to kind of come. But what I know of, and what is very backwards to how we're taught, is that we have to cultivate the energetic for ourselves first. We have to embody that energetic to claim our gifts now. And the witch is secret because she's been waiting for her spiritual gifts to feel comfortable to claim often, but it will never feel comfortable. Like the Clear Quartz gemstone never feels comfortable in the darkness being pressurized and formed. Like we have to lean in with the clarity we have in this moment, because our gemstone is forged in those kind of quiet, small moments where we have the courage to shine our brilliance. Maybe in the moments where there's a truth that wants to be spoken to someone who needs our medicine, and we kind of lean into that edge. Like, what truth would we express if we weren't scared? Maybe we just notice that. Maybe we just start to go, oh, look, I'm hiding my brilliance right now because I'm not speaking that truth. Like that in itself, it's a massive reclamation of our brilliance. Like if there's a practice you want to begin, like noticing practice of like, where do I hide my brilliance is a brilliant step. And I'm going to provide some journaling prompts later for you to go into first and foremost. It's having a sip of tea before you do that, before you enter that practice. But that's also a great practice to start noticing, like, where am I hiding my genius? So when we are in Clear Quartz wounding of hiding our genius, like it will show up in ways like, say we'll have to over-prepare. Like we tend to over-prepare so that we don't get it wrong. Like we're uncriticizable. Perhaps we're pre-preparing what we want to say instead of sharing from the heart, or we're shrinking what we want to say and not saying it. We're hiding our truth. We're not speaking it because either we fear looking stupid, or we fear people thinking we're nuts, we've gone crazy, for being all spiritual. And maybe we're waiting for permission. Maybe we're waiting for certificates, for someone else to validate. Often the secret witch will wait for the next qualification that will validate her as a healer, instead of owning like her gifts now. In particular, though, overall, it's about us hiding our inner magic. That's how it shows up. So the more that you could start to notice that pattern of like where I'm hiding my magic, where I'm hiding my spiritual brilliance, like that is a powerful practice to be in. This is us hiding our spiritual brilliance as witches. And I've got a story I want to share about this, because there was one clear memory that came in as I was contemplating this episode. Because there's an overall journey, obviously, that I've had here with embracing my brilliance and gifts. I've not only had the journey of moving from secret witch and completely hiding my spiritual gifts, you know, even back when I was a holistic healer, working in my little chalet, because I used to have a little beautiful wooden chalet in a garden centre that was just so beautiful. And I had a beautiful memory of it the other day. It was just gorgeous. But like even then, you know, as a holistic therapist, it was a bit different to all the massage therapists around. So I've had that journey of moving from secret witch, owning my alternative side. But I've also had the journey of the audacity of birthing a whole major healing modality, like one that has had me deep in the wounding of my brilliance. Like, who am I to do this? That's another way that this wound shows up. Like, who am I to do this? Who do I think I am? Like, how dare I? How dare I have the audacity? And there was a really defining moment that I remembered this morning on my path, where I could really feel that I entered this choice point to claim my own brilliance. By the way, if you're watching our video, I don't know if you can see my nails are particularly clear quartzy and sparkly. It's just intentional. It's part of my embodiment of clear quartz as I teach her. But yeah, back to the story. I got distracted by my nails. So there was a really defining moment, and there was a moment where I was really called to claim my brilliance in a way that I had never done before. Like, it was really like putting everything on the line. This was a moment where I knew that I had to do things differently. I'd been studying for years with a soul guide that I absolutely adored, and her work was powerful. Her work was amazing. And for a long time, I thought that I would train to guide others in her modality. And one day she spoke to me and offered me that, and we started to speak about that. And it felt a safe path. You know, she was established, she was respected, she was doing things, the thing that I loved. Like, and a part of me longed to belong in that ecosystem, to have like a really set, straightforward path, like somebody else guiding me, somebody else telling me the way. Again, it comes back to maybe even that temptation to want the quick fix in some ways. And for some people, that path, because of the path that she was teaching, being one back to your inner wisdom in the same way that the Archetypal Apothecary path is, like that's not a quick fix. There's still uncertainty. There's still, you finding your own way with that. But every time I imagined kind of serving her path, something in my body kind of tightened up. And it wasn't coming from, I'd learned by then to discern, like, was it coming from fear or truth? It wasn't coming from a fear place. It was coming from a deeper intuitive knowing, intuitive truth that I was beginning suddenly to recognize. And I remember sitting with my guide one day and the words kind of just coming out. It's like, I'd love to train in your modality, but I'm not here for that. I'm here to create my own path. I've got goosebumps. I share that actually as the memory of that. Because it was really such a defining moment in my soul path. And it was one of those kind of, again, crystalline, use that word, moments where my soul kind of spoke faster than my mind could catch up. It's like the truth of my soul came out, and then my mind was like, well, hang on. What did you just say there? And so honestly, when my mind caught up, because I was like, oh yeah, from the heart, like I'm here to create my own path. And then my mind came in and was like, what are we doing? No, you can't be doing that. So honestly, then as I've illuminated that vision, which is often what happens as secret witches, all the fear came in. It terrified me. And my guide said to me, like, I honor that. And are you willing to be with what that will require of you? Because she was honest and truthful and knew what it would ask of me, aka claiming my brilliance. And I had to really sit with that. And I only really learned what that truly looked like after stepping into it. I was like, okay, yes, I'm consciously choosing that, but I didn't really realize what it would require of me. But I knew in that instant that I was stepping off a well-worn path and onto one that didn't exist yet. And I think it's Joseph Campbell that said, if the path ahead is clear, you're probably on someone else's. I love that quote. I'd forgotten about that earlier. It's just come to me now. But like, if your path ahead is clear, you're probably on someone else's. And so that came alive for me in that moment. It was like, oh, there's no manual, there's no certificate, there's no safety net now. There's just my inner knowing, which is very Clear Quartz. Clear Quartz is the oracle. She's the inner oracle as well, archetypally. Like, just this inner knowing saying, this way, let's go this way. I was like, no. No, the logical part of me is like, no, we're not going to do that. Because at the time, the archetypal, this was before the Archetypal Apothecary existed. Like, the Archetypal Apothecary did not even exist. This was the beginning of the creation of the Archetypal Apothecary path as it is now. And I couldn't have told you what that was going to look like. Only that it was my soul's responsibility and longing to birth it. And I remember basically sitting there one day, like literally immediately after this realization. It was probably like a week or so in between. And I'd birthed a course prior to that called Medicine Woman. And those of you listening who did that program, that journey, you may not have realized this at the time. I can't remember if I shared this, but essentially I got, I think, about 10 women enrolled on like my most expensive program to date. And I just had this realization like 2 days before our first opening ceremony that I wasn't here to serve what I've been serving. I was here to create something different. And we've got 10 women here for a 6-week journey. And I had just single-handedly burned down my certainty of what I was serving and chosen to birth my own healing modality without any information. Like, this was Clear Quartz in action. She had revealed the truth, left me with little clarity, and in the shadow of, I'm not brilliant enough to do this. And I remember crying my eyes out in fear. I said to my guide, I have no idea what I'm serving. I've got 10 women enrolled in my program. I'm no longer serving the archetypes in the way that I was, because it just all came, like, I was like, no, this is not me anymore. Like, I'm not here for this. I'm here for something different. Like, what am I to do? And we had a session. I remember that day, like, being like, oh my God, I have literally no idea what to do, what to serve. Like, my program's just being stripped of me. But kind of Medicine Woman in many ways was the perfect archetype to call in for that to happen. It's like I was living my inner Medicine Woman. It's like, oh, okay, I'm here to embody my Medicine Woman. And that's me being my Medicine Woman. That's me being my unique gifts. That's me serving my medicine. Like, I'm claiming my medicine. So in many ways, that archetypal initiation was like for women to embrace their own inner Medicine Woman, their own inner healer, but it was also me fully claiming the brilliance of my Medicine Woman. Again, I've got goosebumps there. It's like magical. And this is how the archetypes work. Like, I'll serve them and I'll get my own version of what I need from that archetype. And now it's much more in remedies, which is where this kind of segmenting off into my own unique gifts came. And so we had this session, and I suddenly realized that I'd actually been working to create a modality all along. I started to realize that all along, even though I was using archetypes, divine feminine archetypes like the maiden, the mother, the lover, the queen, the wise woman, like, I'd been speaking that language because that was the language I'd been initiated into using the lens of archetypes. But actually, when I was behind the scenes working with them in my own practice and in the work that I was doing one-to-one with women, I had been serving homeopathy, which was my lineage. And so, for example, what I mean by that is I would be serving the queen, But I'd actually, behind the scenes, for myself personally, be working with Aurum, a homeopathic remedy, but I'd be working with her as an energetic remedy instead of taking Aurum. And Aurum is gold, so clearly she has an affinity with the Queen. And I began to see that that was a much more powerful, potent way of working, in that there's a whole map of physicals that comes with homeopathy. So I could now see the physicals that working with the Queen as an archetype would actually help heal. And so I started to pull these, the brilliance in me started to pull these threads and see, hang on, I'm here to serve homeopathy. And so that 6-week Medicine Woman program became fully channeled by the remedies of my path. And I started by downloading what I call the queendoms of archetypal remedies. So the categories that I'd unconsciously been working with for my healing at the time. And I served 6 weeks of archetypal remedies via what are called the kingdoms in homeopathy, but became the queendoms of my archetypal apothecary path, because it's for women and it's a feminine path, including plants, animals, salt, magical remedies. And I was totally guided by listening to the remedies coming through. So I was totally called into claiming my spiritual brilliance, but also that kind of pattern spotting, logical brilliance. And this was the moment that my brilliance really, truly began to be shone through. This was my own inner genius finally being expressed. And it took years for that to be the case. And I remembered after all of this, later on, that I had once actually made a devotion to homeopathy. By the way, when I trained in homeopathy, I trained and I kind of served it for a while, and then I was like, no, let's go to the next shiny thing. Let's just tuck that away in the corner. And so it was a real reclamation of the gift that I was really here for, because that was the lens that I saw the world through. And I had seen, I remembered that I had once made a devotion to homeopathy when I was deeply ill for the second time in my life where I'd used homeopathy and it had healed. I said, if this heals me again, I'll devote my life to it. And that is exactly what happened. You don't realise the devotions that we make and the impact they have. And I was so emotional. And I truly believe and know now that that is the soul gift that I'm here for. And it's funny because that's what brilliance really is. It's not about being the cleverest person in the room. It's not about being the shiniest person in the room. It's not about serving other people's medicine. It's about being willing to follow the path that only we can walk. The path that's not clear. The path that's ours, as Joseph Campbell said. If the path ahead is clear, it's probably someone else's. Even when no one else can see the path yet, even when we cannot see it yet, us taking those steps and the next steps and the next steps and the next steps slowly is the way of claiming our brilliance. And that moment really has shaped everything since. Every time I want to look around for someone else's blueprint, which the secret witch naturally does because we're conditioned that trusting our own path, trusting our own wisdom, trusting our own insight that's not the done thing. Every time I want to hide behind logic, or I want to wait to be ready, because I had no capacity to wait to be ready. I had 2 days to suddenly create a path and just allow myself to channel it. And I remember that day and the feeling in my body when I actually served and spoke my own truth and served my actual medicine, my own medicine. That was the beginning of my medicine. And really the moment where I truly stopped dimming my own light. And I remember the fear, the trembling, as I stepped into it, not really knowing, how's this going to land? Is this going to work? I don't know. And that's the beauty of the path that I created, was that it wasn't just another modality that others have to learn. You can, if you have a deep affinity with it. I'm in the work of making it a pathway to train fully as an archetypal apothecary soul guide. And for some women, that is aligned. But in general, it's a modality that, unlike most other modalities, takes us on an inner journey to find our own unique brilliance in medicine. And that could be expressed as an archetypal apothecary soul guide, or it can be expressed in your own way, through your own medicine, through your own path. Much in the way that my own soul guide's path offered for me. The archetypal apothecary path is one that brings us home to our own uniqueness and brilliance. So there's a real beauty in walking that path and reclaiming our brilliance. So how do we begin? What we don't want to do is just kind of rush to fix this wound, this brilliance wound. We don't want to push ourselves past our edge. I often talk about meeting our soft edge, which essentially is like a 7 out of 10 edge, which also means we just don't want to just push past the fears that are having us hide our genius. What I'm not inviting people into is to just like walk in, like push past the fears and just like instantly go shout from the rooftops, unless that feels aligned, in which case knock yourself out. That's also good. But what we really want to do, and what the real invitation is to kind of develop an intimacy, an intimate relationship with the fears that are having us hide in the first place. So what we want to do is start to notice, going back to that noticing practice. Like we so often kind of diminish the practice of noticing, and actually, because it doesn't feel like we're doing much, but actually it's one of the most powerful practices we can be in. So what we want to do is develop an intimate relationship with the fears that have us hide. A bit like the ones I had of like, who am I to do this? Like, what is the fear for you that has you stop, has you hide your brilliance? Maybe it's I don't know what my gifts are. Like, we want to just start to notice and develop intimacy with those fears. Like, the one for me was, who am I to do this? That stopped me from seeing what my soul's deeper vision was for years, and stopped me from creating my own path for years. It wasn't until I saw it, I was like, oh, hang on. Like, now I can see it. Like, I did the deep work to kind of peel back the layers of like, what's here for me? So really, the whole thing is about firstly being radically honest with ourselves as to how much we are in this wound of hiding our brilliance. This is the first step. And we can do this by being in enquiry, by being in noticing. So if you want to, and you're thinking, yeah, I really want to heal this particular wound. I'm resonating with all the Clear Quartz things. I'm resonating with the idea of hiding my brilliance. I'm resonating with being a secret witch. Like, grab your journal. You might want to pause this to take some notes. And I'm going to ask you some questions for you to be intimate with. The first one is, how far do I resonate with this secret witch wound? This Clear Quartz remedy shadow and wounding, this brilliance shadow and wounding. Like, is this me? Am I relating to it? Is this something that lands with me? Maybe it's not, in which case, great. Maybe it is. And there's just some like deep loving of this part of you that wants to be done. So first off, like, write down, where do you resonate with this wound? The second question is, do I know what my gifts are? Now, that's quite a big question, and there's not necessarily kind of an easy answer to that. But you might want to ask yourself things like, can I list 5 attributes or qualities that I have? Like, that's a good starting ground. Because in that invitation, sometimes you might find that it's really tricky to list 5 qualities that you have. If it is, why? Like, is it hard in itself to name them? Like, why? What's there? Because it's probably leading you to some clues about what's challenging about you owning your brilliance. Maybe there's an, I don't feel worthy of my brilliance. Who knows? And the next question is, do I hide the gifts that I have from just others or myself too? Like, if you're not able to access some of your gifts, then maybe you're hiding them from yourself. That's helpful to notice. Is it like an embodiment thing, or is it an expression thing? Like, are we hiding the gifts from ourselves, or are we embodying them but just not hiding and just not expressing them to others? Like, which part of the journey are you kind of stuck in? The owning of your own gifts or the expressing of your gifts? Those are 2 different things, and also 2 different things that we serve and help with in the path. The next question is, what fears come up when I think about claiming my gifts? That's an important one, because that will help us start to unearth the clear quartz, or maybe other layers, remedy layers that are stopping us from claiming our gifts. It could be approval, which would be maybe she-wolf, or Luna, or some of the other archetypal remedies that we serve in this path. What fears come up when you think about claiming your gifts? Next question. How does it feel in my body if this wound shows up? Like, how does this wound show up in my body? Where does it live in my body? And what are the sensations that you notice as you're feeling into this fear and wounding around claiming your brilliance? Connecting to the body is something that Clear Quartz really has us do. It's something we've been journeying with in the Apothecary deeply. Certainly in phase 1 of Clear Quartz's journey, in the first opening ceremony, she invited people into really going into our bodies, because our gifts are found in our bodies. That's the other thing. It's very difficult if we're in that kind of focusing on logic. Very challenging to find our gifts from just a purely logical place. And that's the temptation. So we want to be able to start to dive into our body and allow our body to show us our gifts. The next question is, do I want to heal this so that I can really live into the medicine that I have come here to be and share and give? That's a big one. And again, as you're feeling into that, feel into it from a heart place is my invitation. Like, it's so tempting to be like, well, yes, I do, but how? The but how can wait. Again, if the path ahead is clear, we're probably walking someone else's. It will feel ambiguous. All we want to that is a yes or no. And more will be revealed. The next question is, can I love myself in this pattern of hiding? Can I lovingly let the young part of me that learned to hide because of the wounding around brilliance know that I am safe? See what comes up to that. And then the final inquiry, and I'm conscious there's a lot of inquiry here, so be with this over a few days perhaps. And the final inquiry is, what's the soft edge that I can lean into healing this with? So a 7 out of 10 edge, what would that feel like? Like, what's the next step that feels like a soft edge? It might be just deepening into intimacy with the patterns that have had you hide to begin with. In fact, I'd recommend that. Like the noticing of the patterns that you are relating to here, that you're resonating with. Archetypal remedies work on resonance. The more that we can relate to and feel the resonance with a remedy, the more that will naturally just start to heal as we've made contact with that resonance. The secret witch can tend to want to rush her journey. And one thing I've seen very clearly in the time of the apothecary, because in the apothecary, when we journey with the remedies alive, the women bring the remedy alive. And one of the things that Clear Quartz called everybody to is rest, is to slow down. She's the inner oracle. She claims her gifts from being in the slowness, in the silence, in the spaciousness. So it's vital not to want to rush, not to rush. Not to be logical, but to slow down and listen to the spaces in between and the signs and the synchronicities. That's a huge part of reclaiming our brilliance, is like letting things be revealed, letting spirit reveal our gifts. Yeah, it's a huge one. And again, there can be so much resistance to that. So there might be a whole journey of that to go on before you can even begin the journey of gift reclamation. My invitation, though, first and foremost, is to live into these inquiries, journal on them, allow them to be part of your daily, contemplation, daily noticing. And remember, too, and this is a big one for Clear Quartz and for reclaiming our brilliance, that we don't have to have any idea of the how of claiming our gifts. To the logical brain, that's quite possibly the scariest part, because for me, I was terrified of the not knowing. You can hear that from my journey. The not knowing was perhaps the most terrifying part. And yet it was in the taking the next step and the next and the next and the next that led me to my inner genius, to my inner oracle, and allowed me to stop hiding. So there's a lot to be with here. I intentionally serve the podcast to be a first tender step. Often with journaling being that first step, because we want to open our healing with inquiry. Like there's usually some version of inquiry, embodiment, practice, ritual. Like there's a version of that flows through all our remedy journeys, but inquiry is always the first step. And ironically, it's quite a brilliant process to open with. So notice if anything comes up around getting that wrong, because that can be another way that this wound shows up for the Secret Witch, the idea that we're going to get something wrong. That's excruciating to the Secret Witch with a brilliance wound. And also not understanding. So if you notice that as you enter the inquiries, like love yourself in that. Whatever shows up, the invitation is to be kind, to be compassionate, to love ourselves, to welcome. Like welcoming is such the medicine. Like that is the medicine. Welcoming these parts of us that have been lost back home. These parts of us, parts of our brilliance, like these wounds around our brilliance, like just noticing them and bringing compassion to ourselves is the first step. So yeah, the first step of any kind of true healing really is bringing love and truth to anything. So I've described these two things, love and truth, as the factors that impact the potency of healers. And I teach this to healers I mentor. I spoke about this in the Apothecary the other day. Like both the general soul guides and the healer witches and the Archetypal Apothecary soul guides, like all of whom I serve to discover gifts. Your potency is impacted by the amount of love and truth you can bring. Those two things, love and truth. If you can bring high potency love and high potency truth together, that's when our true soul genius and medicine can be served fully. That's when people are able to receive it. It starts, as with all healership, by honing that for ourselves first, by getting honest about our shadows and wounds, by being truthful with where there is still healing for us. And as we heal that, and we heal our brilliance, we learn how to become loving, truthful healer witches for others. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I've got two bits to tell you about in case you're feeling like you want to call to a next step. If you're feeling called to Clear Quartz's medicine of the inner oracle, where you can reclaim your brilliance and claim your inner wise woman, we have been journeying for 3 months with this archetypal remedy in our Secret Witches Apothecary membership. Her journey is now available for self-study. We're just wrapping up on the last kind of transmission of her, along with all our other remedies. So if you want to self-study with Clear Quartz, you're welcome to join us in there and do that. And I'm there to support people as they do. Likewise, if you have a desire for a clearer understanding of your unique gifts, I'd highly recommend looking at booking a soul reading, which offers a clear map of your path to both healing yourself and becoming a healer. So this is a 2-session consultation healing process that provides you with a clear roadmap of your unique gifts and your brilliance and how to become a healer witch. So there are spaces available for January onwards if you would like to begin at your new year with claiming your brilliance. And that is really all I have to share for now. If you have loved this episode, I would also love to hear from you. So please do feel free always to message me or email me. The details are in the show notes, but info@nicolebarton.co.uk is the best way to reach me. I'd love to hear how you journey with any of this if you choose to be in the inquiry, in the noticing practice. And yeah, other than that, I'm going to leave it there. And I would love to just say happy holidays, happy festivities if you celebrate Christmas. And I will see you in the new year. There is a very special event, a couple of events actually, in January as well. If you are feeling the call today, there is the Meet the Witch ceremony, which is a beautiful free kind of taster experience of the Apothecary, which I'm looking forward to. Again, the dates will all be in the show notes along with links. And there is also, if you're inside the Apothecary, a very special workshop on the witch's vision, manifesting magic for 2026. So yeah, if you want to join us for that, please do. Otherwise, I will see you in the new year. Lots of love. I absolutely love recording my solo episodes, and here are my key takeaways for this one. Owning our brilliance isn't arrogance, it's honesty. is the willingness to see ourselves clearly without shrinking or performing and letting our true light be witnessed. Hiding is a mechanism that once kept us safe, but now it keeps us small. The same armour that once protected us has become the veil between us and our magic. Brilliance doesn't mean having to have certainty. It means being courageous enough to speak the truth that we do have in this moment. You don't need another certificate to validate your gifts. Your lived experience is your qualification. Your body of work is already being written through you. Fear of being too much or not enough is simply the threshold of growth. When we meet it with love and truth, it becomes the doorway to our genius. This is the true way of healing. Clear Quartz, as an archetypal remedy, teaches us that clarity is born from pressure. The very tension we resist may be what is polishing our brilliance.